Here he comes again. All right, Mr. Opinionated, what do you reckon? Oh, mate, yeah. Well, no. I reckon you should have a pump out, because who needs to go to the Elsan all the time? Who wants that dirty job? Well, of course you do, because you're lazy. I reckon you should have a cassette toilet. Much more simple, much easier, even if you are stuck in the ice. Well, yeah, you would say that, wouldn't you? But it's easier, isn't it? Well, of course, my opinion just doesn't count, does it? I love talking about this subject because I do talk a lot of... Not allowed to say that, am I? I love this subject because it's all about waste product from yourself. Let's not get embarrassed. We all do it. But how do you get rid of it when you're on a boat? There's three main types of toilet on a narrowboat. There are two that have been around for a long time, and there is one that has come around more recently that we'll also discuss. The first one is something that's built into the boat, and it's a pump out system. Now, there are some pluses and some minuses to that. The biggest plus points of having a pump out toilet, I think, number one is the frequency of emptying, and number two is the fact that you don't have to kind of physically do it yourself in an Elsan. So with the pump out, you have a tank within the boat that contains all of your waste, and you then have it pumped out. Different boats may have different sized tanks, but the general consensus around the marina when I've been talking to people that have had a pump out and a cassette is that they would empty their cassette toilet 4 times as often as they do a pump out toilet. So say for instance you are emptying your cassette toilet once a week, then you'd only have to do it once a month, which is a lot better. Coffee. But for me, there are some drawbacks. Number one is the fact that you have to pay for that. Number two is that you may have a queue, and the queue will be longer for a pump out than it will be for Elsan. Number three is if the canal is frozen, you ain't getting that emptied, and then you're stuffed. Yes, there is less work to do because you don't have to physically go to the Elsan. You don't have to do it as often, but I don't really think I'd want to be in a situation where my tanks were full, and because the marina is frozen over, I can't empty it. It kind of just worries me a little. Some boats are big enough to have a pump out and have a backup cassette, and loads of people do that. I think as an ideal, if I had a bigger boat, then perhaps that is something I would do and would want. Because then you've got options, and you know, options are always a plus on a boat. I think my Uncle Steve said something that kind of resonated quite well, which was always have 2 ways to do something. If one fails, then you've got a backup. So for me, I have my cassette toilet, and I have the marina toilet / pubs, restaurants, people that go and visit. I most likely will poo in your house. Apologies. I always say so much stupid. But one I've been seeing that other people have suggested is a really good way to do it is a composting toilet. I was thinking that would be pretty bad, like smell-wise, but looking at the way they work, they separate the urine and the feces, which really it's when those two mix that the real bad smells like happen. Because they're separated, you're not getting the same odour, and realistically it's better for the environment to be composting rather than placing it in a sewage. And we all know of the recent studies into our waterways that our sewage companies have not been looking after our waste the way they should. So composting is probably the best, most environmentally friendly way of dealing with it. The downside is that we don't have composting stations like we do Elsans and pump out stations along the canal systems and the rivers. So that's the biggest downside to a composting toilet, even though it's the most environmentally friendly option. So you have to weigh up that balance, what is best for you, and whether you can deal with the extended time that you're going to need to find the way of disposing of your waste. All of those bits and bobs come into play So what's right for you is not necessarily right for me, is not necessarily right for Joe Blogs or John Doe. You need to decide based on the information. The Canal River Trust has a part on their website about pump out or cassette. So it gives you all the stuff about the FAQs, like what you can do with nappies, because obviously nappies can't just go in the LSAN. That's not going to work. You can't put the solid waste from a composting toilet in an LSAN, but you can put the liquid waste. What if I'm thinking about getting a separator or compost toilet for my boat? This is directly from the website. We strongly advise that you only do so if you have the ability to completely compost the solid waste from your toilet yourself, or have the access to somewhere that will do it for you. With it being the most environmentally friendly, as you would expect, it's not the easiest. And the fact that I would have to deal with the composting myself means that I don't have that option really. I don't have the room to do it. I don't have a space anywhere else to be able to do it. So realistically, the choice for me personally is pump out or cassette. And my choice is cassette. Number one, because that was the way the boat was when I bought it. Number two, even if I had a pump out, I would probably replace it with a cassette for the reasons that I've stated before. Don't want to be stuck in the ice with a full toilet. Don't want to pay for emptying it. So let me know your thoughts on toilets, because they're going to be different for everyone. And is there anything that I haven't really considered and haven't really put in the video to be able to help other people consider what type of toilet they should have? Thanks very much. See you in the next one.